Hey there, my name is Cassie Torresias, and 8 years ago, I launched my own online graphic design studio and booked a one-way ticket to travel the world in pursuit of my own freedom-filled life. I now own a multi-million-dollar online business, The Bucket List Bombshells, teaching other women how to do the same, alongside my best friend, co-founder, and podcast co-host, Shay Brown. Around here, we believe that your crazy dreams aren't crazy, and that it's time for you to start creating the life and career that you dream about too. Whether you want to travel and work remotely, or simply just want to be your own boss, it's possible to live out your passion and purpose without just scraping by. We know that this path isn't always easy to navigate though, so we're here to help you. From making a career change, starting and growing your own business, balancing life and business, and most importantly, pursuing your own freedom-filled life. Get ready for real, relatable stories and advice on your journey towards something more. We serve it up BFF style, so pour yourself that third cup of coffee and let's dive in. Welcome to the Freedom Filled Life Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Freedom Filled Life Podcast. I'm your co-host, Shay, and I am one of the founders of the Bucket List Bombshells, as well as Bucket List Bombshells Academy, and our newest membership community, the Bucket List Bombshells Collective. Today, I'm going to be sitting down with Ashlyn Carter, really excited to be talking about copywriting, but specifically how the new AI tools are affecting the industry. I know that this has been such a hot topic inside the collective, as well as other areas of our Bucket List Bombshells community. And how does this affect service-based entrepreneurs? Should we be integrating it? How should we be utilizing it? And should we be fearful of it? So we are going to dive into a couple of those questions and so much more. But just to give you a little background information on how I know Ashlyn, we actually worked together a few years ago, and she worked with us on a really in-depth market research and copy strategy for our business. And it was so much fun working with her and her team. She has been a guest expert in the Bucket List Bombshells Collective, as well as in our Scale with Purpose Mastermind. And I wanted to bring her on the podcast so that you can get to know her as well and hear from her in terms of copywriting, being in the service-based business, maybe building an agency, and just all around having expertise in the world of online business. And so we're going to get into it today. But first, Ashlyn, can you tell us a little bit about you, your business, and the services that you offer?
Yes, Shay, thank you so much for the intro. And I've always loved, we've been at this like banter of our audience, like sharing back and forth, I think since, like now that y'all been in business, what, 8 years? 8?
Yeah, well, just coming up on a decade. Yeah.
Okay. And then I've been 7, and I feel like I just remember you were one of the first, y'all were the OGs back then. And so it's cool to get to,
you too.
I don't know, support and jump in there with you guys. So, yes, my name is Ashlyn Carter. I am CEO and founder of Ashlyn Writes. It's a boutique copywriting agency, and the Copy Bar, which is a copywriting template shop. I am firmly passionate that you can be your own best copywriter. Obviously, I believe in copywriting services. We provide them, we do them, I adore them. But if you can't tell me why you do what you do, the way you do it differently or better than somebody that does the same thing, especially if they charge less, you've got to own that as a CEO. And you need to be able to say that. And you've got to be able to understand the basic sales psychology to make more money with your words. And that's what I want to teach other creative entrepreneurs, equip them, give them all the tools to be able to do that. And so that is what my business is all about. And about 7 years old, and I'm based outside of Atlanta, if that matters. I know. We go wherever the laptop goes though, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've been, I think, working remotely about the same time, but like traveling and like just having that laptop lifestyle. And I think it's like really interesting watching someone who was around this as well around the same time in business as us go through the pandemic, and how, we were all like, yep, we work from home. And
Yep.
it's
Welcome.
doable. And now we're welcoming so many people into that. And I think specifically, I've seen so many, we've had higher enrollments, but so many people launching their own businesses with their websites. And the number one thing that I see issues with, besides maybe some basic design, which there are some incredible templates for website design, is copy, and how important it is. And yes, we're not all, coming in as salespeople, but at the end of the day, we do have to hone in on some sales skills to be able to sell our services, our products ourselves. And I think that's what I love about you empowering people to learn it themselves. I know it's like something scary to tackle. And of course, they can hire someone like you to work with, but in the beginning, sometimes we got to kind of do it ourselves. And it was definitely something that I struggled through in the beginning and didn't have a resource for with my first service-based business. And I definitely think back and I'm like, oh man, I wish I had a course like what you have so that I could have learned it myself. It's such an important skill.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. It's like one of those things, like good copy as it should be is expensive. It takes a lot of time and research. And so once you've already thrown spaghetti at the wall and like found some things that stick, then I think it's time to invest and, like, let's add gasoline to the fire and see what can happen now and up those conversion rates. But when you're first trying to figure out your message and land it, and because you're doing so much as the entrepreneur too, of like the product development or the service development. And so a lot of that research is intertwined.
Yeah. Yeah. And just so our audience can get to know you a little bit more, can you tell us what motivated you to start your online business and in the area of copywriting?
Yes. Okay. Shay, we were talking before, and I don't think I realized how many parallels we have. Like growing up, I studied classical ballet growing up. Did you ever have to take for figure skating?
I did ballet when I was a little girl. Yeah, I remember I loved ballet. And then, I transitioned more into figure skating and dance in what was it? Jazz kind of style. I moved away from ballet. Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Okay. Well, I stuck to the stage, not the ice. And I loved it so much. Like that's all I wanted to do in life. I also, it's about the time, when we were in high school, Devil Wears Prada came out and I was like, okay, that's the ultimate. If I'm not a ballerina, like I will be a writer for a magazine. And so long story, ended up going to college and not into the dance world and never changed my major from journalism major. That's exactly what I wanted to do the whole time. And I adored it. Got out of college, wanted to go straight into public relations. That was 2010. And so that was like the first big digital boom of that really affected the journalism industry, and magazines were shuttering. And it was just blogging had just come into its own. It was a really interesting time in writing as a medium. And so I wanted to go the PR route because I thought that would be safest. And I loved it. I worked for a corporate business in Atlanta. So I did the like tall building, clacky heels on the floor. Like I was living my glam life and loved it so much. I ended up then working for a chef in his restaurants as his publicist. And about that time, my husband proposed, and I had always been type A, as many entrepreneurs are, thrived off of a certain level of like production and speed. And it was like, that was the one thing that kind of sets everything else in a tailspin. And I got stressed about doing everything for the wedding, everything for work. And then as a side hustle, I would go home and fill wedding calligraphy orders like that was my side hustle. And so those three things kind of together, I just couldn't control well. Before I knew it, I started measuring what I ate and calorie counting just as a means to try to control anything in my life, and wasn't even really trying to lose weight. And I started losing weight. It spiraled me really quickly into an eating disorder. We got married. 3 months after that, I went into partial hospitalization for anorexia and generalized anxiety and depression. And so it was like in that moment, I was like, all right, someone's got to give. Like I love work, but I've got to figure out how to work from a place of rest and not this 24/7 breakneck hustle speed. Like hustle works in seasons, but I never came off of it. And so it's, when your eyes first get open to the ecosystem of like, oh my gosh, there's people that work for themselves and make money. Like what? I took a journalist friend out for lunch when I was a publicist, and I was like, okay, off the record, you make money? And she's like, yes, Ashlyn. And I was like, this is mind boggling to me. And so, that planted seeds. And I quit my job pretty soon after that and started my business. When I first started, I knew I named it Ashlyn Writes because I was like, well, I can do calligraphy and I can write stuff. And I wasn't quite sure where the gap was in the market, but eventually I kind of found the Ashlyn size gap in the market. And it was in this wedding creative industry world. These people had no idea how to talk about sales. And I was like, wait, that's hard for some people. Like I love doing that. And so that's really what kicked off the copywriting side of things. And then I eventually ceased doing calligraphy and just have grown the copywriting side now. And yeah, have other writers on the agency team. And I adore that because my agency is a hard model to run. I know we've talked about this. I love the laboratory of it and the ability to experiment, but I also enjoy teaching and sharing. Because like I said earlier, copy is expensive. So that's kind of what pushed me off the edge. I don't know if I would have started if something didn't push me off the nest.
Yeah. I took a mentor out from university. She spoke at a university. She's a website designer, had an online business, lived in Mexico, which is so funny because that's exactly what I ended up doing. Followed in her footsteps. But yeah, I took her out for coffee and I said, can you share more about this world? What is this? And then after I graduated, I actually interned for her. And there was a crossroads moment that came with a job here, or do I go to Mexico and continue, interning for her? Or sorry, she invited me down to Mexico to continue interning with her as long as I could pay my own way. And I did. I booked it. I convinced a tech company here to be my first client because I was working for them as a social media manager. And like you said back then, and like everything was just the wild, wild west in a sense of like, the online world. And it's so interesting because I wanted to go into the e-commerce side of magazines. So it's interesting that we have very similar things that I didn't really know either. So at first it's like e-commerce. And the first jobs that were entry level for whatever reason, the path after I talked to some people said, well, be a social media manager and get your foot in the door. And that was kind of like the path I was going to be on. But then I had this opportunity and my sister was the one who said, you got to go to Mexico. Cause this mentor had said, come down for 3 months. You have to pay your own way, but I'll teach you how to be a website designer and how to run an online business. And she did. She showed me the bones of it. Yeah, she showed me the bones of it. And I continued interning for her. So I started helping her with her client work. And then from there, I learned how to find and land clients was definitely something I had to self-teach. Like she had been in the corporate world for so long. And so all of her leads were coming from here in Canada, like a very different setup structure to like some, I was 23 and she was working for a big corporate client. So I had heard about freelancing and freelancing websites. And I just started pounding the ground on that. And that's how my business grew. But
Shay, that's so cool. I hope she's like a proud mama bear out there and knows that everything y'all build. That's cool.
I hope so. We lost touch years ago, which, I think about her often and I've tried to find her online and to be honest, I can't find her. So it's kind of this ghost in my past. That I have so much gratitude for. So, anywho, I'm a little off topic. So I was just really stoked that we have very similar pathways. And thank you so much for sharing some of those more vulnerable things about your story and just sharing with us your journey. I know that our audience loves hearing about how entrepreneurs get started. But I want to switch gears and start talking about AI. So I know that AI has been a really hot topic of conversation these days. And I've been talking with, a lot of content creators in my industry about what AI means for service-based providers. And I'd love to get your thoughts. So here's my question. And it's a two-parter because I want to speak to two groups of listeners that we have. Yeah. So the first are the women who run a copywriting business. And the second are the other service-based business owners who are not offering copywriting services. So for listeners who fall into the group of being copywriters and owning a copyright business like yourself, how are you using AI in your business currently?
Yeah. Okay. I love this. And I first of all want to pat every copywriter on the back and say girl, process your feels, because I think that my journal entries from November to January were just a mess of what is life? I've built this business. Am I going to be able to be in business in a year? What happens to all these product dreams that I've wanted to create? Is the template shop dead? What are templates now? All over the place. And so I think if you haven't yet processed your emotions on it, if you haven't gone through the stages of let yourself be angry or whatever, because I do think that it brings up a lot of emotions for writers, because it definitely feels like an affront to, as I'm sure on the design side, designers that are listening, you've got tools that photographers. I think we all need to process it. And I like too, Shay, because I know we both have a similar outlook with we adore technology and we're probably both early adopters with like millennial
Mhm.
age and everything.
Mhm.
We use technology all the time, but like we look at it with a healthy amount of skepticism. And I think we have to bring
Yes.
that same
Yes.
approach to AI as a tool. So that's like the first thing I want to tell copywriters is like
Mm.
be in your feels process. But then on the other side of it, I think it's helped me to look at it as like a chef would look at their suite of knives and
Mm.
how sharp they are. And like they have different jobs and do different things. And I what did I even cook last night? Chicken tenders. And I was like cutting up chicken for the kids into like tenders. And I was like, wow, I'm really bad at like cutting this up and everything. So I feel like it's only as good as the tool in the hand, whomever's holding it, right? It's only
Right.
as good as the inputs. And so
Mhm.
I think another way that I was thinking about it is imagine when like in the music industry, when digital music first became a thing, and especially like DJs and overlaying sounds in tracks, I'm sure people were scared silly about like, but wait a bit, the classical education or the classical music industry, like what is going to change about how
Mm.
music is made? But when you think about it, there's guys on TikTok where every now and then they'll like put two songs together, like
Yeah.
TikTok DJs. I'm like, wow, the creativity to combine those two songs is out of this world. Like, how did they think to put that together? Well, they're artists, they're masters
Mm.
of their craft and what they do. They're just using the technological tool in a way that other people haven't yet. So
Mhm.
I think when you can start to like see AI as a piece of your arsenal that you're going to use for a
Mm.
time and a place to serve a purpose, but like these things are not search engines. They are not like I love reading classical literature. These things, they're not the only reason they have aggregate information is because the info was fed into it. Like they can't
Mhm.
just like spit out Faulkner or
Mhm.
C.S. Lewis or Machiavelli or whatever. Like they got that from somewhere. And so
Yeah.
I've talked about it in YouTube videos, but there's like 5 elements that I am bound to determine. I cannot make AI do it. I've tried. It's like 5 elements that I think they're your superpowers that you have to play as a
Mm.
copywriter for your clients. And I think you're going to be okay. I think it's a very interesting theory that because this is going to create obviously more volume out there, there's going to be more noise. It's faster. You can write faster than ever. Like
Mhm.
to me, it just muddles all the water out there even
Mm.
more. Thus, you become an even more valuable card to play if you're that much more skilled. So obviously, it's going to cut out mediocre copywriters for sure,
Mhm.
but
Right.
don't be mediocre. And I think like if you can rise above that level, then you'll be
Mhm.
safe.
Mhm.
Because I do think one day it's just interesting, like I was saying, the hypothesis or theory that it'll maybe swing back over to where custom work is so valuable because
Yeah.
there is so much machine produced work out there.
Yeah, I definitely think there will be that level. I think it's going to be the level of customer experience that you create, as well as the level of customization and hands-on and tailoring it.
Yes.
Like you said, I think it will cut out generic there's going to be a lot
Yeah.
more noise. I think there's
Yeah.
already a lot more noise, and I can tell what's authentic and what's
Mhm.
inauthentic.
Mhm.
So I think there will be that, but I think it will push you. I will say it's going to push us to be
Mm.
better, to
Yes.
hone in our skills more, to find maybe a stronger niche area or to find a
Yes.
unique selling factor. And so
I
it
like
means
that,
that
Shay.
not everybody will be able to enter the industry the way that you can now, but I actually
Yep.
think that it will weed out those people that shouldn't be in well, not shouldn't. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody can be in here, but
Yeah.
let's say some people who can come in and do mediocre work. And we've all experienced that, especially on the hiring side and on
Yep.
the other side, like
Yep.
whenever it's the client side, we know when we've received something mediocre and we've been sort of duped into it, right? And I do think that you will start to rise to the top if you're
Well
able
said, Shay.
to really hone in on that unique skill that you have. And I'm not saying that you have to be able to write with 3 hands or 2 hands or whatever. Not like it's more about using your mind in a different way. And like you
Yes.
were saying, the creativity of other people, it's going to push us to be better.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I like a challenge. And I think a
Love
lot of
that.
entrepreneurs do. And I see it as a very positive thing for our self-development as well, and our skill development. And that's what I would add to that.
Shay, that is beautifully said. Yeah.
Oh, thank
I
you.
think that, well, if you think about it too, like I'm sure when different waves of the internet came out, like the best way when it feels like this, like the tide is rising and everything's kind of getting a little bit scary and rough in the entrepreneur waters, like the best way to ride any wave is to get on your surfboard and get out in front of it. Like if this thing scares you, go study it, like go
Exactly,
play with it. Don't ostrich your head down because you're like fear, like I think like face your fear on this if it is that intimidating for you, which I completely understand. Because it, like I said, I think you do need to process through it all, but yeah, it's going to be something that you have to learn how to play with.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, if you're afraid, go and learn it. And then also if you are, I've kind of heard this offhand comment like, oh, it's not going to stay around, or no, it's not going to, it's just like a fad, or like I can't replace. And I get where they're coming from in terms of the same thing that you and I talk about. We're skeptical of new technologies. And for me, I'm very skeptical how new technologies affect human emotion and human interaction and that kind of stuff, more so than, I see as a business tool. I'm like, yes, embrace it. I don't think it's going away. So I would also say, don't stick your head in the sand and think this is a fad or that you cannot use it. I do think that you need to find a way to integrate it. And you mentioned something for copywriters. There was 5, you called them like 5 elements. Can you talk more about what those 5 elements are?
Yeah. So 5 superpowers that you have, even whether you're a copywriter or whether you're just like dang good enough at being your own best messaging strategist. First of all, I cannot for the life of me get these tools to nose out a hook or figure out the hook of a messaging campaign or a sales page, like, because that is something to me that like comes from dwelling in the voice of customer data and the research and like just putting your ear to the ground, listening to your audience, trying to figure out with your offer, what does make it different out there in the market. And then what's the overlap of those two that comes up with like the hook that you can hang I used to have a journalism professor that said a hook you can hang your hat on, like the argument for the whole campaign.
Oh,
they can't do
interesting.
that.
Okay.
So yeah, like if you can train yourself how to, in a hook, I did a YouTube video on it one time. It's not necessary for every single offer or launch to like you don't have to have one, but you're a lot better if you can figure it out for your offers and your products. But yeah, that they can't do that. They cannot tell storytelling like you can because they don't have the empathy component.
I've tried that.
I was going to say, I feel like this is something that you probably played around with.
I have.
Yeah. You tweak the inputs and everything. You can tell a story better. You're human. That is imprinted on your DNA. So you got that. Your EQ, your emotional quotient is higher. Like your ability to read the room. A bot can't read the room. So you've got that. Creative problem solving and strategic logic and figuring out things. You can do that. They can't. Remember, it's providing information based off of like, what's the word that I'm looking for? Probabilities. So it has so much aggregate information given to it from neuro language pathways that it's taken in and all the people that are typing things into it. So it's just spitting out probabilities. And that's why it seems so smart sometimes, because it has a lot of input given in, but it's not able to apply creative logic and wisdom to that like you can. And that gets my last one, like wisdom. They don't have, it might have a lot of like knowledge and facts, but fact check them. These things are not, they do spout fake news. One time I did it, I was laughing. It said, Ashlyn has been featured in, what was the magazine? Maybe it was like Entrepreneur. And I was like, LOL, fake news. Not yet. Maybe one day, but I've had a few students and, members inside of our collective that'll say things like, oh my gosh, it gave factually incorrect information. Remember, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Like that is like no rule of thumb for interneting. And then also like these tools that's not what their purpose is. So you're going to be able to do that as well. So those are things that I just think, all day, every day, you're going to beat the bots on. And so leverage that. Like that's your card to play is like,
exactly.
get this knife, make it sharp, and then you do what only you can do.
Yeah. I love those five, what did you call them?
Superpowers.
I keep want to say elements or like as if they're like ethereal, like
call them elements,
fire and earth and water. Yeah, no, I actually think that's like spot on and kind of goes back to like the skills that I was talking about, like hone in on those areas, find the areas that the bots can't do. And they're not humans, and our brains are super computers as well, in a sense, like maybe it's not binary or it's zeros and ones and whatnot. But I also want to speak to your point of what they're doing is scouring the internet, and not everything on the internet is truth, like what you said. So definitely fact check, but also it's just, I like to use them as almost like a research assistant. So instead of me scouring the internet when I'm trying to write, I find them or the Chat GPT, at least. I know there's lots of different types of AI tools, but Chat GPT specifically for writing is a great research tool. It's like, it does really help, maybe some initial outlines. It helps with like that scouring the internet for information that then you put your opinion on, your spin on. Like AI so far have not seen them have like a very strong opinion on something or like a good or a perspective. Like you can tell it's like, oh, I've read that somewhere, I've heard that on the news, I've heard this. It's not their perspective. So they're just really just taking a bunch of people's opinions and knowledge on the internet and regurgitating it in a different way. But sometimes they have logical capabilities that provide potentially new analytical
great word,
perspectives, or like crunching numbers or data, or taking a lot of, if you're not a metrics person, helping you with your metrics and analyzing that. I have seen some of that do well. But going back to talking about copywriting, I have definitely struggled, and I'm not a copywriter, but I can tell, because Cass is such an incredible copywriter, and we worked with you and your team. So it's like, I know good copy, and
you're off the hook.
I know good storytelling. I know good copy. And go to your point, a good hook. And you're right. I'm like, I can't get it to write that the way that I would say Cass or you, because those are my two experiences of working with copywriting. It just doesn't write the way I've even tried with our brand voice. I've used certain tools where it's not Chat GPT, I can't remember the name, but you put in, they basically review your website, and then the bot is supposed to be able to write in your brand voice. I tried so many different inputs, and it does not sound like Cassie and I. It doesn't. It tries. It's almost like it's an imitation. So it pulls out different things, but I'm like, I wouldn't put that word. Why did you put that word there? Because I tell it, be sassy, be whatever, be that. Here's teaching style. Like I gave it a lot of inputs. Cass and I have tons of content on the internet for it to review. And it's still, and maybe it's just because I'm like, it's trying to write like me. So maybe I'm going to be the most picky, right?
Critical.
Critical. Thank you.
As you should be.
Critical. So it could just be that, but I read it and I was like, it sounds like an imitation, like someone doing a stand-up comedy routine on, you know what I mean? Like it's like, a roast or something, it's like, and like someone doing an impression. So it could pass, but I don't think that it could pass for the women who, like yourself, who've known me for 7 years, or our community members who have learned from us, taken our content. Like I would not feel good about putting this out there, because
they'd sniff it out.
I bet they would be able to tell. And like we're a part of our brand is being super authentic and very transparent. And so AI can't replace certain human qualities. If you are a brand like that doesn't have this really personal element to it, like a person, we're all personable, then I bet it could write, I still don't think it can write the hooks like you said, and it can't do the storytelling, but it could write, like it writes pretty good sales copy, I would say. Like a starting point, right? If you're writing ads, again, if you're not a person, like if you're personal, I think personality is tied to your brand, and you're, say, a product-based company or something like that. Like, I think that it definitely can write sales copy, marketing copy, all of that, but you need to adjust it. I would not send it out just as is.
No.
So yeah, so that kind of leads into my question around like your opinion or view on how AI is changing the industry for copywriters.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I use it all the time, every single day. I've got ChatGPT open. I think that so to your point, it's like a Ferrari that until you learn how to drive it like the Ferrari that it is, it's going to be like terrible. I mean, I remember playing with it at first. And I was like, this is awful. Like exactly like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I was like, LOL, I'm safe. And then, a couple of months pass and they'll do like the 4 installation and it starts to get a little sharper and a little sharper and a little sharper. So I think what I have learned as it will, I think that mediocre non-personality focused copy is churnable, like plug and play. It's going to come out immensely. But if you can figure out how to use it as, especially whether you're a copywriter or not, use it as like a little, a junior copywriting team or intern that spits out you a first draft. You do have to treat it like an intern. You have to give it a lot of parameters. I want you to write this. I want you to do this. I want you to use 13 words or less per sentence. I want you to have no passive voice. I want give it parameters and constraints, because the more you can do that, the more it's going to be, it's going to spit out what you want. Give it copywriting formulas. I talk a lot of, I have a blog. If you Google Ashlyn Writes copywriting formulas, it'll come up, I think. But tell it, I want to use this. We're actually going through all of our shop products and updating them so you can take our templates and put them into a ChatGPT and then have it spit out. We've tried that with our product descriptions that are in the shop and it's worked great for that. So I'm like, okay, let's do everything. Because I think, again, if you start it's that Taylor Swift song quote, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If you put bad inputs or templates in, it's going to spit out bad stuff. But the more you can work with it, the better it can be. Also, if you can, as a copywriter, arrange your dashboard, for lack of a better words, and I'm talking about, again, ChatGPT, this is the one I'm referencing, but if you can have chats going down the side and then label them for what you're working on, you don't have to go in every single time and say, by the way, here's my audience, here's all the background. Use it as, I have some chats open where I'm like, this is my YouTube outliner bot. I just use this to outline YouTubes. I just use this one to look at my day and help me stack and arrange my time. I just use this one to say it another way. I do that sometimes where I'll throw in, especially ad copy that scales out, and you need to, if you're running constant lead gen ads and you need to refresh that copy. Hey, say this ad another way. I need you to sound like Betches.com meets BuzzFeed, meets Delta Airlines. Give it some constraints, tell it. So, and then see what it comes up with. Another use for it that can be helpful. Sometimes, I remember when I was in corporate, we would do these brainstorming exercises and somebody would be like, how do we not want to do this? And people come up, throw out crazy ideas, and that gets your wheels turning in a different way. And so sometimes plug in a piece of your copy and say this like Gary Vee would say it. That see what it spits back out, and then take that and play with it. Let yourself use it as, you said it, a research assistant, a little junior copywriter. They are not, bless their heart, pat on head. It is not going to be taking your job anytime soon, but it can help push you and give you a dang good first draft that you can apply your humanity to. And so that's how I think it will change the copywriting industry as well. It'll be interesting to see what it does to templates and prompts in general. I think there's a lot of people that are gonna becoming a prompt engineer, I guess, for lack of a better words, back to the Taylor Swift, if you give it if you know how to give it good inputs, or you can help people understand how to give it good inputs, that's going to be really helpful.
Yeah, that's so interesting you said that, because even as you were talking, you even got my juices flowing on better prompts I could use. I could totally see a new skill that someone could be I can teach you how to get chat GPT to work for you, because like you were saying, there are a lot of parameters. There's a lot of things that you feedback you have to give it. But once and you were talking about how you have separate chats. So like once you're in a chat, I love that you label them and separate them, because the chat GPT remembers the data, the inputs you've given it. So you don't have to re-input, but you do. I like to treat it like what you were saying, like an assistant or I love a junior copywriter, like kind of, I don't want it to be sentient like a person, but I treat it like a person in the sense of like, but almost at the level of like, even like dumbed down. Like I would never like these parameters I'm giving them. I'm like, I would never actually want to give a human these parameters because this
I type it all the time. I'm like, do you understand? I wouldn't probably do that to somebody on my team, but
or like you have the details, you expect someone to come with those already, but I think that there could be a really cool skill or service that someone could offer. Like even for me, I would be, again, as a non-copywriter who needs to produce a lot of content for our business. And I think that it would be really cool to learn from a copywriter, like, okay, what other parameters can I be asking? Because sometimes sitting there, I'm like, it's not giving me what I want. And I know that it's still, I always edit everything because like you said, you got to take that like human aspect, especially because we are like, I want to add my opinion. I want to add my perspective. I'm a mentor. I'm a teacher. If you're not that, then maybe that's not a part of who you are, but that's a part of what I want my copy to have or my content to have. But it saves me so much time to get the juices flowing. But then sometimes I'm like, why are your juices not flowing? Like at the chat GPT.
Get it together.
And I realize it's because I have to learn. It's like a skill now. Like, how do we learn how to put the right parameters in to be time saving? Because right now it's not super time saving for me. Some stuff it is, but like you're saying, the parameters, that was kind of a new learning curve. So again, it's pushing me now to learn a new skill, to work with technology. Again, not shun it, not be afraid of it, not use it. Figure out how to embrace it. And now I'm up leveling my skills. So as a mentor, teacher, coach, maybe that's something that I can now teach some of my students how to do. Even just like the advice you just gave me. I was like, oh, I'm going to go try a bunch of those things today, or I'm going to go to your templates and,
awesome.
And then I think as, us course creators, I know some of the course creators in my world have been concerned as well about it. Like, what does it mean for course creators? For whatever reason, that's just not, to me, I'm like, you can't be me. Like a tech cannot teach the way I can teach, my experience, whatever it is. But now as a teacher, how can I mentor other women in business through how to use AI tools? That can be a new skill I have, so it's like, that's why I just like really want people to embrace it in this way of like, take it as a challenge and push yourself. And guess what? Maybe like there's going to be something new for you, for your business, for your clients that you'll be able to offer in whatever industry you're in.
That's like kind of why we went ahead, totally stole your name of Collective and launched a membership earlier this year.
Everybody uses Collective.
It's a good one. It's catch all.
It's PC as well. Like, it's the most PC one.
Right. It was a good one. So yeah, we have the Copy Bar Collective now, but just teaching people exactly like what you said, like rip off the Band-Aid, learn, you've got to write, like it's a write or die world as an entrepreneur these days. Like if you're not writing and producing, we're all like mini multimedia, like companies within our own company where we have to just sit and produce this asinine level of content. So if you can, what we do in the membership, we give 3 email copy templates a month and 1 AI tutorial how to, because you've got to be able to like we were talking before we started about like your muscles, and like you've got to be able to not have atrophied muscles when it comes to spitting out content at the speed of light these days. That's just your job as a CEO. And there's I don't want women or creative small business owners to spend their time playing around with like, let somebody else do that and bring to you how you can use it very quickly. And because they take too long to dig into without a roadmap.
Definitely finding that, the learning curve. I mean, it's kind of how I learn personally. I like to do things the hard way or like muddle through it myself. Obviously, you've already given me some great prompts I'm going to use. So That's fantastic. But I'm like, my whole thing as a teacher is like, let me do it the hard way and show you the easy way. So I love that you do that too. And where can we learn more about that? Collective?
Yeah, the copybarcollective.com.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also have a freebie we can put it in
great.
here. I have it attached to my Instagram with 200 copywriting prompts for AI that can get you started. So if you're just like, I don't even know where to start with this, there's a list of 200 for all different copy needs that you may have in your business. You can plug those into.
Great. I'm going to add that in the show notes. And I actually think I'm going to download that myself. I'm like so curious because obviously we work together. So like, I know I love your advice and your style and all of that. And I'm trying to work with AI for copywriting.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're both similar too, in that if we like, if anything scares me, I'm like, screw it. Let's just jump in, get our hair wet. And then it's not so scary anymore.
Yeah. And I think because I have such a mission around empowering other business owners, empowering people to do things themselves, to not live in fear and to just get what they want out of life. That for me, it's like, I want to learn it so that I can now show other people how to learn it and use it and embrace it and again, make your life easier. So, I kind of mentioned two separate groups. We talked a lot about how you're using it as a copywriter. And for those in the general service-based world that need to write copy, like what you were saying, producing it at like really high speeds, like it doesn't matter what business you're in now, you need to be producing content, right? And copywriting comes down to that. So for these non-copywriters, is your freebie applicable? Like this is like, how would they go about using AI in their business?
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there for that. I've used like non-copy entities that I've used it in. I separate copywriting and content writing. That thing can do a dang good YouTube outline. Like if I give it like, hey, I want to talk about this topic and like give it a little more information, obviously in that bot, I already have it trained for, I'm calling it a separate bot. It's all like one probably.
It's all ChatGPT
bot out there. Yes. But my little one that I have open for YouTube outline knows my audience and everything. And so I'll ask, like, help me, give me 10 different elements that could be part of this YouTube outline on how to build an email server so you can up your open rates. And it'll spit out some ideas. And I'm like, cool. I like 1, 4, 5, and 7. Can you rewrite number 2? A couple of different ways. And then I'll be like, okay, I like that. So I'll have my 5 little sections and then I'll ask it to like, give me sub points under there. It's very good at pattern recognizing. So I think for a lot of us, we like look at our art or our craft or what we do, our service that we provide. I love, because you have so many service providers in your audience. And that's like at the heart and soul of what I do. I love writing copy. I'm also like looking at the museum piece with my nose up against it and I can't see the forest for the trees a lot of the time. And so when I have a really hard time from the content creation side of my business, thinking like, okay, how do I like go back over the curse of genius or curse of knowledge or whatever you want to call it and think about this from like somebody who doesn't do it every single day and break it down. And that it's a good tool I have found at helping me see like, okay, what are the steps of this? So I like it for that. I also like it to create YouTube intros and outros. So I'll say like, okay, can you write like, I want to say, welcome, in this video, you're going to learn 4 different points. Here's the topic. And the intros and outros, I love using it for. Customer service responses. If you get stuck on like sticky situations, being able to throw it in there for that, it's been really helpful as well.
Yeah, that one's interesting. I have so many customer service templates. I feel like I have a very good knack for that. So I'm library. Like, if AI wants any tips, I could give it some tips. No,
there we go.
No, but that's a really for those who do struggle in that area, especially as someone with product-based businesses as well. Definitely. I've seen some people on Instagram using it for customer service, and I was like, it has a really lovely, like once you put in some parameters and prompts, you don't have to put in a whole lot. It has a very lovely customer service personality.
Yes,
I would say.
Oh my gosh, Shay, you're right. Like that, what it lacks in like personality and like charm, it does beautifully from like a very like like Ritz-Carlton, here's your answer, kind of like it nails
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Well said.
exactly. Yeah, it has some impressive customer service skills,
Mhm.
or personality. And I think because we're not really we're looking for a very
Mm.
kind, I think when I put that like
Mhm.
kind seems to be very easy for it to write in that way,
Mhm.
kind and informative. I think I've used
Mhm.
those prompts. And for copy or for even contents, very dry, right? Like,
Yep.
but for custom, I thought, wow, actually, this would sound really great as a customer service response
Yes.
in
That's
the
so
voice.
interesting.
And so if
Yeah.
those of you who are out there looking for, customer service templates, or like, I think there is probably ways now, or not probably, there are probably tools that are customer service, like auto bot responders and stuff, but
Mhm.
now they sound really good, in my opinion. At least
Mhm.
Chat GPT does.
Yep.
So speaking of
Agreed.
tools, we've talked a lot about Chat GPT, and I'm curious, is that the only tool that you use as for copywriting or for content writing, or is there any others you
Yeah.
like to use?
That's definitely the one I use most. I've played with
Yeah.
I did a video last year and 9 different tools that I like played around with, and I used a lot of them. And then once ChatGPT came out, it's kind
Yeah.
of eclipsed most of those for me.
Yeah.
But even like Grammarly is an AI tool that we forget is AI.
That's true.
I cannot function without Grammarly. Like
Mhm.
copywriting does not equate copy and spelling. And so like I lean on that and and to recognize like passive voice, just any tool like that. So having that
Mm.
even the free version is just like an AI tool I can't function without. I would say those are the ones that I lean on the most. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. I've tried a
Yeah.
bunch too before ChatGPT really got going, and
Mhm.
ChatGPT, even the free version is great. It doesn't save all of your stuff, so but the
Right.
paid is very cheap in comparison to the other ones out
Yep.
there, and it does do most of what needs to get done. I
Yeah.
did play around with Jasper. That was the brand voice one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they
Oh,
definitely are a cool company and making
yes, they are.
changes. I really like what they're doing. It's for the cost, it wasn't working for me.
Agreed. Agreed. Have you ever played with CoSchedule's headline analyzer?
Yeah, I forget that. Is that an AI tool?
Yeah, they're applying AI logic to like
Oh, that makes sense. I
enhance
didn't
your
think.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
we've
like
used it for years.
I think that is still to me, I've played with other headline writing tools. It's my
Mhm.
favorite. It's so
Yeah,
great.
I don't know if I've used it for writing the headlines, but we always have anyone who's writing email subject lines on our team,
Nice.
ourselves included. We put it through what's it called? Like the tool that basically analyzes it
Mhm.
and it
Mhm.
gives us a
Scores it.
score. Thank you. Yeah, a score.
Yes.
So I've never had it right from scratch. So I'll have to look into that actually. But
Yeah.
that always helps us when our open
Yes.
rates are fantastic. And I definitely think it's
Yes.
because we're very much, we look at the score, and then if it provides you with suggested changes,
Mhm.
and then we play around with it until I think we have some sort of metric minimum, like no subject lines go out if they're under, I don't know the exact number, else I would
Certain
share it with
score.
you, but
I
a certain
love that
score.
SOP. Look how
Oh
tight
yeah,
that
girl,
is.
I got
That's
my SOP, especially
great.
metric, especially as a non-content creator. I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
let's put a metric on this. It
Yeah.
makes it easier if I have to write something. I'm like, okay, I just have to get it above
I just have
X.
to, yes, yes. I have my instructions.
Yeah, and I would
That's
say that like
fantastic.
our open rates have been super solid for many years, and we've used CoSchedule for many
That's
years. But
dynamite.
I didn't put two and two together that, of course, that is technically AI.
Yeah, technically,
Yeah.
I know. It's funny. I saw a meme the other night when I was like scrolling when I couldn't sleep. That somebody, you remember, it was it Clippy, the Microsoft like
Yes,
paperclip. Somebody was like, if
Clippy.
he is not the leader of all the AI tools, like I boycott. I was like, blessed. I hope he is.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I guess that was the first AI
Maybe
was
I was like,
Clippy.
yeah,
Maybe.
like
Maybe.
back when we were in elementary school.
Yeah, I love it. Well, as we're wrapping up here, I have one final question for you that I love asking everybody who comes on to the podcast, because, of course, we're the Freedom Filled podcast. And
Yes.
I wanted to know, how has starting your own business led to more freedom and fulfillment in your life?
I mean, in an infinite number of ways. I have to um I mean, even now I'm pregnant with our third and I
Oh,
cannot
congrats.
fathom, thank you. I'm always amazed. tell my best friends who are still in other jobs. And I even tell my mom all the time, like, how are you a teacher and did this? Like, I have to nap, I get sick. I've got to go lay on the floor, and like, even just going to doctor's appointments. I know this is like not, yes, we take vacations and like we do those kind of, I can,
Of course.
have the kids right now, it's summer break and they're home right now, asleep upstairs while we're recording. And like, there's those kind of things, but even just the little things like, no, I can go to the doctor whenever and like schedule those appointments and work when I want to. And when I'm having an off day or a tired day, I can go rest and lie down and take care of my body. And I just cannot, that is such a blessing that I take for granted, is like, yeah, just being able to, I have a friend, he's in finance, and we were asking him recently, some mastermind peers and I, like, what he was saying, why are you so hung up on being profitable? Like, yes, you want to be profitable, but he's like, do you realize what a big deal it is to do what you love, get paid a salary to do it, to own your own business, and to have it designed around the hours and the lifestyle that you want to work? Like, yes, profit on top of that is a great thing, but like, if you're you've already hit the jackpot. And I was like, that's so true. It's like a freedom filled life where I get to call the shots on things. Oh my gosh, I'm never going back. Like, it is a gift.
I love that. That's such a beautiful answer, and reminded me of something that we've been talking about in our mastermind program, the one that we run. And we've been working with our women who you met around what abundance looks like for them. And you talked about like that your friend said, why are we so focused on profits? And I think that is just so spot on, and something that Cassie and I have been having really amazing conversations with other women around what are the benefits that our business gives us besides the profits, and also defining, revenue versus profits. Cause I think people chase after this. I see you giving me snaps over there, and you've probably experienced this. I think we all have, especially for us who have been in business for almost a decade, chasing a revenue top line number does not always add to the bottom line. And the bottom line is what you get to take home, but you chasing this high number and it's starting to stress you out, when it's like, I didn't start my business for this. I started my business for all of those other reasons: the freedom of time, the freedom of my schedule, the freedom to be able to be with family, do what mine was like, I want to do whatever I want when I want to do it. And I also want to do something I enjoy, that I'm really passionate about, and that's making a difference in the world. That's a deeper why for me. And I think that it's so interesting that your finance friend brings that up, because I do think that there's so many other things that give us the freedom and the fulfillment in our business that have nothing to do with the revenue and profits that we're bringing in.
Preach, girl. Yeah. You define what enough is, not the internet.
Exactly. That was a big shift for me defining enough. And I am the, leader of a community that's all about freedom, fulfillment, working online, designing your own schedule. And there was still a point where I had to say, I need to define what enough is for me, and stop letting others tell me what freedom and fulfillment looks like, which is why I love asking this question. Because I'm like, I always get a different answer, and it's so unique to each person what freedom and fulfillment looks like. And don't let someone take that personal power away from you. You define it, and then build your business around that. And if you only want to make, $50K a year, which is a great take home salary, then do that. No one has to make six figures. I just want to put it out there. Like, six figures is this number that all of a sudden everybody in the industry decided that like six figures. Then it was like 7 figures. Yeah. The six-figure conspiracy. And, there's like obviously pros of it as well. I'm not saying don't, but remember to go after what you can define what you want. And that's something we're working very deeply with our mastermind women on right now, and defining those metrics around what abundance is, which is kind of funny because abundance is very, abundance can become very woo-woo at times, or abundance can be, it's much more of a deeper level. But then me as the logical person, the COO, CFO, I'm like, okay, let's put some metrics on that, baby, to achieve abundance. Even if it's not finite, like there's always parameters. I'm like freaking an AI over a life-size AI over here. Like, I'll get parameters.
But if you don't define it, there's a lot at stake. So I love that y'all are doing that.
Yeah, it's been really fun. So I love your answer on that. So thank you for sharing. And if someone wanted to connect with you after this podcast, where can we find you?
Yeah, my website's ashlynwrites.com, and Ashlyn S. Carter is my Instagram. And yeah, I'm on all the platforms, but those are usually where I hang out the most.
Fantastic. I'm going to link those in the show notes. And I also know you have some fantastic YouTube videos. So I'm also going to link to your YouTube channel as well.
Oh, thank you. I always tell people, if you are struggling writing something, please reach out, because I probably at this point have a freebie or a free video on it. And so before you buy anything, just reach out, because we probably have a resource that we can point you to.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Ashlyn. This was such a fun conversation around AI and just the copywriting industry in general. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and your knowledge and for being here today.
Thanks for having me on.
Yay. Amazing. And thank you for everybody listening and tuning in to another episode of the Freedom Filled Life podcast. I'll see you around.
The Freedom Filled Life podcast is brought to you by the Bucket List Bombshells. It's hosted by me, Cassie Torresillas, and my co-host, Shay Brown. If you loved today's episode, we'd be so grateful if you left us a review. Reviews help us spread the word about the Freedom Filled Life podcast, and they're a key part of sharing the show with other women who believe they're made for more. Until next week, keep on pursuing your own freedom-filled life.